Welcome, everybody. This is Scott Holohan, the Public Relations Manager of District 40. I want to welcome each and every one of you to our Wednesday webinar tonight. And tonight we have a special guest. I'm going to let Jean Bailey introduce her. Jean, over to you.
Oh, thanks, Scott, and good evening, District 40. Welcome to tonight's Wednesday webinar. My name is Jean Bailey. I serve as your District 40 Program Quality Director, and I'm excited about tonight's Wednesday webinar. Your presenter today is Christine Ross, DTM. She is also the chair of the District Education and Training Committee. And when it comes to speech contests, you name it, Christine has done it. She has chaired, judged, timed, counted, emceed, and guarded the door. She has trained judges and competed on the district stage. Our session tonight is a nuts and bolts on the how-to of a successful speech contest. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Christine Ross. Christine?
Thank you, Jean. So why do we care if people have a good experience with a speech contest? Like, why do we care if the speech contest goes well or not? Well, first of all, we want everything at the club level, everything that happens in our clubs, to be a good experience for our members. But if they have a good time at a speech contest, if they feel that that is a successful experience for them, then they will move on to the area contest, whether they are competing, whether they are going to fill a role at the area contest, or whether they're going to go as an enthusiastic audience member to cheer on the representative from their club. For many of our members, the first experience outside of their club is a speech contest. So we want our club contest to be successful so that people are all geeked up about speech contests and they have that first experience then at an area contest. Now, if you're chairing an area contest, you want that to go well too, because we want every experience that our members have to be successful and we get them all geeked up for division, right? So if you have a successful speech contest, then it's an entree for a lot of people into a world that is broader than their own club. Plus, it's just kind of cool and fun to have a good contest. So if we could have the next slide, or am I supposed, or can I do that?
I can do that.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
there
just give me the cue and I'll do it.
All right, that would be, all right, the magic word would be next slide.
There you go. I like that. That's clear.
All right, so we have 4 different contests that we run in District 40. We run the International Speech Contest every year. And we do that because, well, it's fun to do. Plus, that's the one contest that Toastmasters International requires that we do. And that is the contest that we are gearing up for right now. Starts at the club level. The winners from the club level move on to the area. The winners of the area contest move on to the division contest. From the division, they go to the district contest, which this year is the first weekend in May in Charleston, West Virginia. From there, there's some Toastmasters mumbo jumbo where they view videos and they select who goes on to the international contest. And the international contest will be the first week of August in Paris, France. I grew up about 15 miles from Paris, Michigan. That's not exciting. So all the other contests, which would be the humorous speech contest and the evaluation contest and the table topics contest, end at the district level. We go through the same steps of club, area, division, and district, but it ends at the district level. So this spring, we're having the International Speech Contest because we do that every year. And we're also having the humorous speech contest. A person can compete in one or the other or both of those contests. Some clubs will have the same contestant for both pieces moving on to the area, and that's fine. So if there are no questions on that, then we'll move on to the next slide. Does anyone have any questions on contest progression?
If you'd like to ask a question, you can go ahead. Yep.
This is John Dietz. Do I ask Jessica Algier where and when the area contest is for my club?
Yes. Ask your area director. If you are in F, right, John, you're in F. It'll either be the 8th of February, if that is a Saturday, or the 15th of February. So somebody just is sharing their screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to get where I need to get to here, so sorry.
That's fine.
Go ahead and ask questions. I'll get the technicals here right.
If I'm just on the phone, can you send me the slides you're doing at the end of it? I don't need to see them right now, but at the end, can you send them to me?
Yeah, we're recording this call and we'll send slides if necessary. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Now, something that's a change from last year. Last year we had the rule that if there were 4 or fewer clubs in your area, then you would send a first and a second place winner. And if there were 4 or fewer areas in your division, you'd send a first and a second place winner. I don't know if any of you remember that. Maybe I shouldn't say anything if you don't remember it, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that this year. It just raised too many questions. Well, what if my area has 5 clubs but only 3 participate, and blah blah blah. So one winner, one to rule them all, and move on to the next.
And you're saying that if that winner can't go, then that club is not represented.
Well, if the winner can't go, then a second place winner goes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so make sure that your contestants are available all the way through to the division contest, because if for whatever reason a first place winner has something come up and they can't compete, then the second place winner goes in their stead.
Okay.
So if you have a first and a second place at your club, the first place winner wins a trip to Cancun and can't compete, then the second place winner would go instead.
Okay. To the
we always
area.
think of terrible things. Yes.
Yep.
We always think that something terrible happens that somebody can't come. It doesn't have to be terrible. I am not seeing slides right now, Scott.
Okay, let me see if I can.
I have Dan's webcam and Bintu's webcam.
Let me see here. Let me escape, and I'm going to redo this here. Let's see. All right, so I need to.
Well, will you work on that?
Yeah.
I'll talk about speaker eligibility.
Okay.
All right. So for the International Speech Contest, there are a few more rules for eligibility to compete. First of all, the member has to be in good standing and a club in good standing. And basically that means that your dues are paid. And not just the members' dues, but enough of the club's dues have been paid for the club to be considered in good standing. And theoretically, these have to be true the whole entire time that the contest season is going on. So those of you on the line who can talk to your treasurers, your club treasurers, to make sure that they pay at least 8 members' dues by the end of March. You don't have to have an entire club paid to be a club in good standing, but you do have to have at least 8 members paid to be a club in good standing. So make sure that with the dues renewal rolling up, I think the payments open on the 3rd of February, that your contestant is paid and that enough of your club is paid to keep the club in good standing. To be eligible as an international speech contestant, you cannot be currently holding a district office. So no area directors, division directors, top 7, that sort of thing. And make sure that your speakers are available to compete at every level. In addition, your contestant cannot be seeking an elected office at the conference. So if you have somebody who wants to be a division director, that's an elected office. So they cannot compete because they would be running for office at the same time, at the same conference where they would be competing. Can't be an election and compete at the same time. And that's actually true for all of the contests, that those are the requirements. There's an additional requirement for the International Speech Contest. If you're pursuing the Legacy program, you need to have completed at least 6 speeches in your competent communicator. And if you are in Pathways, you need to have completed at least 2 levels in Pathways. Not complete 2 pathways, but 2 levels in Pathways. So any questions on eligibility?
So if you have people like for future who have their CC or their whatever level, they are considered eligible to compete even though those designations are not going to be available anymore, or do they have to start over and say, okay, now I got to get the pathways?
At this point in time, Toastmasters International has said 6 speeches in the CC or 2 levels in Pathways. Now, the rules change every year. So if you are chairing a contest, I would encourage you to make sure that you have a current copy of the rule book. But at this point in time, for the contests that are going on in 2020, Toastmasters International has said 6 speeches in competent communicator or 2 levels in Pathways. So that's all we can do is that's what they're saying now. Any other questions on eligibility? You can check a contestant's eligibility. That's on the next slide, Scott.
Yep. And is it coming through better now?
Yes.
Okay. Should be better.
So you can put in a member ID number and their last name, and it will search to see if that member is paid. It will tell you if that member is a club in good standing as well, but it will not tell you how many CC speeches they have. So you still need to know something about the speaker. You can't just say, well, made it through the eligibility assistant. I don't know because I haven't checked. I should have checked on myself if it'll tell you if 2 pathways have been completed or not. I can't answer that question, but it will at least tell you if they've paid their dues and if their club has paid their dues.
What you can do is that you can go into the Club Central and look at your awards that have been given, education awards. And
yes, but that will not tell.
Look for that person.
That will tell. Yeah, that will tell you if they've done 2 paths.
Yep.
But it won't tell you if they have done 6 CC speeches.
Oh, that's right, 6. Yeah, so if it's a partial 6, then they won't tell you, right?
Right. If they're in the Legacy program, that's a partial award.
Yep.
And you won't be able to tell that from the eligibility assistant.
Yep.
But that will at least give you the paid part. It'll let you know if they are a member in good standing and a club in good standing. So it'll at least give you that part. Any questions on that?
Yes, I do have a question. I have my competent communicator, but I'm also in Pathways right now, and I'm at the DL1 level because I completed Dynamic Leadership 1. So in your overview, you're saying either or, but would the criteria be that I've completed my CC, I can qualify to do a speech?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
At this point in time, Toastmasters is honoring anything that came out of the Legacy program. I have no reason to think that they won't in the future. So if you have your CC, then you're eligible to compete.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions on eligibility? All right, then we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so it used to be that every club got this big pack of stuff that they needed for a speech contest. Lots and lots of speech contest kits floating around. All of that is available online. And the slide here shows the International Speech Contest Kit. But there is a contest kit for all of the contests that Toastmasters sponsors. So there's a contest kit for the humorous speech contest. There's a contest kit for table topics. There's a contest kit for evaluation contests. So I would encourage you as a chairperson of a contest to download the kit and go through those forms, because those forms will give you a guidepost for all of the roles that you will need to have filled. So a lot of people, it takes a lot of people to put on a successful contest. You will need a contest chair and a chief judge. In addition to the chief judge, you will need to have your voting judges and a tiebreaker judge. And how many judges you need varies by whether or not it's a club, an area, a division, or a district contest. Also, the number of judges that are in the rule book is a minimum. You can always have more. And then you'll need a tie-breaking judge. And the tie-breaking judge gets the task of ranking all of the speakers, whereas the other judges just get the luxury of picking first, second, and third. If you look through the forms in the International Speech Contest Kit, you will find a timer sheet. So you need a timer. 2 timers are better. I have actually been in a contest where one of the timers was so enwrapped in all of the speeches that this person forgot to start the timer. But because there was a second timer, that person hit the start button. So I would encourage you to have more than one timer. Better safe than sorry. You will need ballot counters. As you go through the International Speech Contest Kit, you'll find ballots. You'll find in a form for the ballot counters. So keep in mind, every time you're going through this contest kit and a form pops up, somebody needs to use the form. So I don't know if you've been counting on your fingers, but you need a contest chair, a chief judge, voting judges, a tiebreaker judge, a timer, though 2 timers is better, a ballot counter, although 2 ballot counters are better, and then your chief judge also serves as ballot counter. So you have a minimum of 2 anyway. You will need a Toastmaster for the event. All right, have I scared you all yet with all these people?
I counted 13, I think. Well, if you
think
have
13
5
or
judges. If you have
13 or yeah, and I think I usually figure like 14 people to do a contest, because then you'll also need somebody to guard the door. You need a sergeant at arms to make sure that people aren't coming in and out during the speech. And if you're doing a contest like the table topics contest or the evaluation contest where the other contestants are sequestered, then you will need even more people to be sergeant at arms, because you'll have to have someone guard the door, someone guard the contestants, that sort of thing. So I've usually figured that you need 14 people before you even have a single contestant. You need 14 people to run a speech contest. Have I scared you all yet? All right, but here's the thing that's fun about the club contest, which you don't have at the area or above. A club can choose its contestants for the area contest in any way they see fit. You guys can draw straws to see who moves from the club to the area contest. You can, grab a spoon, whatever it have you, because some clubs, frankly, just don't have enough manpower to hold a contest and to have people compete. So you don't have to have a club contest. I belong to a smallish club, and for our contest, We've actually said anybody who would like to compete, just come that night with a speech. We'll listen to your speech, and then we'll all vote on who we thought had the best speech. And that person will go on to the contest. But if you do the full contest, the whole thing with the chief judge and the ballot counters and the timers and all of that, then you have to abide by all of the rules in the contest rule book. And the big thing on the contest rule book is time. If you are having an official contest with all of the rules and all the hoopla, then you have to be sure that the speeches don't disqualify on time. So I encourage you to read the rule book. For the humorous contest and for the international contest, the required time is 5 to 7 minutes. So any speech that is shorter than 4 minutes and 30 seconds is disqualified. And any speech that is longer than 7 minutes and 30 seconds is disqualified. And that is the big difference between having a full contest with all of the forms and all of that, and having just something small and simple at your club. Now, when you get to the area, you have to follow all the rules. Area on, read the book. I know it sounds boring, read the book, but read the book. So that you make sure that you have the proper number of judges and the proper number of clubs represented and that sort of thing. There is no webinar that can take the place of having read the book. Please read the rule book. If you've decided that you do want to have a contest at the club level and you're running a little short on personnel, you can always hook up with another club. 2 or 3 clubs that are smallish can get together and hold a contest together. It might be easier for 3 small clubs to come up with 5 judges than for each club by itself to come up with judges. You could have a couple of clubs get together, hold a speech contest together, but then each club still has its own winner. So if you have 3 clubs who get together to hold a speech contest jointly, there will still be 3 winners. Each club can send somebody onto the area contest. But that's a way then, if you are short on personnel, to make sure that you have enough people to hold a contest. The other thing is, if you don't want to hold a joint contest like that, you can just ask people. Just ask. Get a hold of your area director and ask him or her, can you help us out? Can you help us find people to hold a speech contest? And Toastmasters are almost always willing to help each other out. So that's another way to go if you can't scrape up 14 people to hold a club contest. All right, so I need software changes. I hate it when that happens.
Oh, perfect time. Hopefully it's not going to force you to
reboot.
Yeah, hopefully no forced reboot here.
Hopefully not. All right, so that's a lot of information about the people who are in the contest and the forms and all of that. And I'm sure there are questions at this point on contest personnel and on forms and that sort of thing.
This is Judy. I have questions and information actually too, both.
Shoot, go ahead.
Okay, so today I downloaded the kit for both humorous speech and international speech contests from Toastmasters International. And I took my information for the notification of winners for the humorous speech contest, and I started trying to fill in the information, and the form doesn't play well. It's not a fillable form.
No.
I went back to my prior one, which was 2013's date, and it plays well. So I called Toastmasters International. I talked to somebody in their department for these forms, and they confirmed that the form that's in the kit does not play well.
Oh.
But if you query for the form 1182 individually, that form is fillable, and she sent me a copy of that. She also said that she's going to take this information and forward it to the people on high who can fix that fillable, non-fillable issue in the kit so that in the future it shouldn't be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good when the form is fillable because then it's easy to fill it out and email it to your area director.
The other
If
things
you-
that were not fillable were the bio sheet and the certificate of eligibility and originality. Those were not fillable, so you have to print those off and you have to fill them out. And to me, the bio sheet doesn't seem like, why would that not be fillable? She didn't have any copy of it that was fillable, although I might have older versions that are fillable. I don't know. I've got tons of them, but anyway, she said that they're not fillable. You have to print them out and fill them in.
Well, that is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I've never seen a bio form. I've never seen any of those forms that were fillable. Now, I don't know why they do that with the bio form. I understand with the other forms because those actually require a signature. You
Right,
have
I got
to,
that.
yeah. So like your judge's eligibility, your contestant eligibility, and your contestant originality, those all require a signature.
Right, I understand that part.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I
don't know why the other ones. I've never seen one fillable on the bio.
The other part that I found very interesting is that there was a lack of the certificate of participation in the kit. Just didn't exist. So I went back to my prior copies and I pulled out my certificates of participation because, as you said in the beginning, if you have a positive experience in a speech contest, then they're more likely to go to the next level. And if you don't have a participant certificate to give to anybody who participates, then people are going to be like, well, I didn't get anything for coming and even putting myself out there at an area contest because they've done away with it. I couldn't believe that they didn't have a participant certificate in there, in the kit.
Yeah, I don't.
Anybody knowledge of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't have one in there. Actually, I didn't realize that it wasn't in there. They just have the first, second, and third place certificates in there.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the digital certificates? The digital portion,
Yeah.
or did you get the paper ones shipped to you?
The website said that the ones in paper are no longer available.
Oh, okay.
They're only available digital download. So it was a digital download. They had A, B, C, D for like 4 places for the winners, but the certificate for participation was was just not there. It was missing. And if you're the first person, if this is the first time you're doing a contest and you've never been to a contest where they've given out certificates of participation, you may not even be aware that it's missing.
Right.
I can't tell you where any of my certificates of participation are. I don't keep them. I'm like, well, thanks for the warm applause while I was competing. I don't even know where they are.
Yeah,
I need to go at that division level. Those are significant for a person. On the level, sure, they may not want them or may not deem them or may not keep them. But when you go to the higher levels, it may mean something. Look, I actually got this level. I got a participation certificate, and it gives you warm encouragement to continue or to compete next year or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. If they're not in the kit, then you either need to find a member who's been around long enough to have them or make up your own, or
I've taken a note to see if I can find a digital form. That seems ludicrous that they're missing that form in the kit. But I know I've gotten them in the paper forms. But if they're not giving paper forms out again or kits, then I'm confused too.
Yep, Scott, and
go ahead.
Christine, this is Gene. I do believe I've seen a digital form of the certificate of appreciation from one of our contests.
I've got a digital form. I can send it to whoever needs it. But the point is, I think
not in this kit.
Yeah, right. Why is it not in the kit?
I see. It sounds like Toastmasters International is dropping the ball big time on this one. They've got to right the ship here, if you will.
Gene,
so noted. We'll note that. Yeah.
Gene or Scott, if you manage to scare up a digital version of the participation certificate, could you post it on the D40 website?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll post it on Facebook too.
Thank you for that point. Is that Judy?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I have the form.
Thank you.
Send that form to anybody?
Yeah, send it to publicrelations@d40toastmasters.org. Publicrelations@d40toastmasters.org, and I'll make sure it gets to the people in the registration link here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And also on the other
Christine.
two. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
Christine, this is Dan Spass, Scott and Christine and Jean. I'm actually the chair for our speech contest. I belong to Toast of the Town, one of the JP Morgan Chase ones. We have 13 members, of which about 8 are active. Our speech contest, I'm the chair, our speech contest is next Tuesday night. So I've grabbed some judges from other Chase clubs to come in and judge.
That works great.
Works great. Now,
Yeah.
anything interesting because of the small club we have one contestant for international and we have one contestant for the humorous. But
Okay.
I'm trying to run it as if we've got multiple in each category.
Yep.
Anything I should be aware of except primarily making sure they hit their time marks.
Yeah, when they get the green light, tell them to stop talking.
Okay, because what you mentioned, what you mentioned earlier was you could kind of go a little bit more a different route, but I was trying to run it just in case someone else shows up and says, "Hey, I'd like to do it too," and I have a speech ready.
No, that sounds great. And actually, then it prepares your contestants for what the area contest will look like.
Sure. So
when they go to the area contest, it won't be a shock.
Right.
They'll be able to be like, oh, I've been there, I've done this. So if you do though end up with only one contestant in each category, make sure that they understand they have to hit the green and just stop talking when they get to red.
Yeah, I actually kind of ran into, if you know Johnny Randolph, I ran into him in the hallway and he emphasized that 3 times when I talked to him.
Right, because there are only 2 ways that a contestant can be disqualified, provided that they've met all the eligibility requirements, right? That they're paid and the club is paid and all of that. There are only
Absolutely.
2 ways. There's only 2 ways that a contestant can be disqualified, and the big one is time. If they speak less than 4:30 or more than 7:30, they are disqualified on time, and you don't want that to happen.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
make sure that your contestants know that the middle of the green light, to stop talking. Another way that a contestant can be disqualified is for originality, and that's one of those things to please read the book. If the speech is more than 25% unoriginal, so let's say somebody is quoting heavily from a book, or they talk about this great TED talk they saw and they spend 4 minutes recapping this other thing they saw. If the speech is not, it's more than 25% unoriginal, then they can be disqualified.
Okay.
And so that we're all aware of it, the only ones who can make a ruling or lodge a protest, that's a better way to put it, the only ones who can lodge a protest about originality are voting judges. So not your chief judge, because your chief judge doesn't vote. It's your voting judges or your contestants. Those are the only ones who can lodge a complaint about originality, and they have to lodge their complaint before the winners are announced.
Okay. I remember that was even discussed at, I think it's called the TLC meeting that we had in Berwick a month or so ago. So I remember that.
Oh, that's the TLI? Yeah, that would have been me too. That was me. I did that. That was me.
I think I'm in that session. So I think that was up as well. So, all right. Thanks, Christine.
Not a problem. All right, so let's move on to the next slide, and let's talk about judges. At a club level, they just have to be a paid member. beyond the club level, there are some other things that the judge has to satisfy in order to be able to judge. So you really need to check the rule book and see what it is. If you're doing an area contest, what are the requirements for a judge for the area contest? If you're chairing a division contest, what are the rules for a judge to be eligible? And rather than going through them now and having them be recorded for posterity, I'm going to tell you all to check the rule book. And there are lots of places along the way where you can check the rule book. If you check your eligibility for your speakers, there's a little button to click for checking the rule book. I think if you download the contest kit, then it'll give you a rule book. You can go out into club resources and you can look for a rule book, and you'll know it's the current one because it has the most recent winner on it. So if it's not the most recent winner smiling at you from the front of the rule book, then you don't have the most recent one. So I am not going to tell you all the rules for being a judge at this level because I want you to check the rule book. What I say now may not be true a year from now, so check the rule book. So if we don't have any questions on eligibility, because I didn't give you very much stuff to ask questions about, we'll move on to the next slide.
Does anybody have questions about judges?
The next slide is about training judges. So if you have all sorts of questions about training judges, then that's where we'll talk about judges. All right, I can read this slide to you, but you are all smart people, and I will not read the slide to you. But the judges do have to sign an attestation saying that they will be unbiased. There are some people who have flat out told me, I can't be unbiased, I can't be a judge. And that's fine. I'm glad that they had told me that. They could be a chief judge because the chief judge doesn't vote, but not a voting judge. You absolutely have to be unbiased. And the thing about doing a club speech contest is you've probably already heard the speech. Sometimes you may have heard the speech a couple times if somebody is getting ready to compete. And you really have to work hard to judge the speech as you hear it that day. So maybe they gave the speech 2 weeks ago at a club meeting and you like the one from 2 weeks ago better, so you're going to vote for them because the speech 2 weeks ago was better. No. You have to judge the speech that you are hearing that day. Sometimes people think that, well, this guy is due. He's due to compete. He competes at the club level every year and he's never won, and now he's due, and we should move him on to the area contest because, he keeps swinging for the fence. If the speech didn't win, if it wasn't the best speech, then you shouldn't move that person on. So it's not, oh, he's put in his dues and now it's time to send him on. You really need to think about, is that the very best speech that we've heard today? And judge the speech, not what the speaker is wearing, not the speaker's weird purple hair, or whatever it is that you may find offensive. You really are looking at the speech. Now, of course, if the speech is accompanied with vulgar gestures, that is communication, right? If they are communicating to you in a way that is offensive, then that counts when you judge, but not what they're wearing, or not whether or not it's a man or a woman or somebody who likes to be referred to as they. It's the speech that you hear at that time. And as a judge, you should not be concerned with the length of the speech. It isn't the judge's job to decide if the speech is long or short. That's the timer's job. So just listen to the speech. Don't worry about the time. And a lot of times the timer will sit kind of near the back of the room just so that the judges aren't tempted to look at the time. Or, they sit in the front row, just however it works for your club. But don't worry about the time. That's somebody else's job. You just worry about listening and watching the speakers. If you are the chief judge or the contest chair, make sure that your judges are familiar with the ballot before they have to sit down and listen to a speaker. Whether that means you send it by email in advance, or you actually take a few minutes before the contest to go through the ballot with them. I never figure that anything I email to anybody really ever gets read. So just sit down for a moment and go through the ballot with them. Make sure that they understand that the ballot must be signed. Some chief judges will actually ask them to sign the ballot as soon as they hand it to them, just so that the ballots are signed. And you make sure that your ballot counters know that if the ballot isn't signed, then it doesn't count. And we have had situations where we've had to throw away ballots because they weren't signed. Some people, when they judge, do this elaborate folding of the ballot. Have you seen like the fan folded ballots where they judge one speaker and then they fold over the scores so they can't see the scores that they gave that speaker, and they just do the scores for the next one? I'm not seeing any of you people here, so I can't tell if all of you are nodding or not.
That's yes.
The judge can judge any way they want. They don't have to use the scoring. They don't have to do the fan folding thing so that each speaker is heard independently. There are some people who will tell you that judging is ranking one speaker against the other, and that it's not appropriate to fold up the ballot so you can't see what the other speaker did, and that coming up with the best speaker for the day is an elaborate bubble sort. You heard the first speaker. Is the second speaker better or worse than the first speaker? You heard the third speaker. Does the third speaker, better or worse? And it's a massive bubble sort for those of us who live in IT land. And then others will tell you, no, each speaker stands on their own. I have internal standards for, what gets a 10 or a 12 or a 15 on the voting. The judge can do whatever they want. They do not have to do the elaborate fan. When the judging is over, the top part of the ballot where they ranked speakers or put in numbers or however it is they did it, that needs to be destroyed. That can never see the light of day. I tease judges when I am the chief judge, and I tell them that they're going to be forced to eat it at the end of the contest. So that the only thing that anybody ever sees, that the ballot counters ever see, is the bottom part of the ballot where the speakers are listed and where the judge has signed it. All right, so are there questions then on training judges?
Yes, I do have a question.
Shoot,
How
go
do
ahead.
the timers interface with the judges? Earlier, we know that timing is a disqualifier. So if the timer is timing the speech and the judges are, making their criteria for who's going to win, how does the judge say, okay, they're disqualified, they went over the time? How does that all fit in together?
The judge does not make that determination. The chief judge and the ballot counters will. The judges should go ahead and score the speakers without any regard to time. Go ahead and score the speakers, give their first, second, and third place winners, that sort of thing. And then when the chief judge and the ballot counters have the timing sheet in front of them, then that's where the determination is made that a speaker is disqualified for time. And so then that speaker is just removed from the ballot counting, and the ballots are counted without that speaker in there. Even if one of the judges may have given them first place, that speech just comes out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the judges don't decide that. The chief judge and the ballot counters will decide that when they get the timing sheet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any
Okay.
other questions?
Yeah, this is Judy. So we have two questions and I guess issues. First one, you said if a person makes a vulgar motion.
Well, no. Okay. So if you read the rule book, have we heard that before? Have we read the rule book? If you read the rule book, the timing starts as soon as the speaker makes their first communication with the audience, even if it is not verbal. If the speaker comes out and starts pointing at people, then that's when the time starts. So if the speaker comes out and flips y'all the bird, then you are within your right to say, well, I'm not going to let that person win because they flipped the audience the bird.
Okay, I understand that whole thing you just said. That's not my question.
Okay.
If a person does a vulgar verbalization within their speech, is that rules for disqualification? And the reason I ask this is at the last district conference for District 40, one of the table topic contestants got up there and used foul language. And yet when that particular speech was put on the website for District 40, that verbal vulgarity was edited out of that speech. So the question,
I have no idea what happens between the speech being delivered and it getting posted on D40. That is outside the realm of the speech contest. If you are a judge at a speech contest and somebody is using language that offends you, there is a place on the ballot where you can take that into account and you can give them 0 points, or you can, in your own way of judging, say, well, they dropped the F-bomb and so they're in last place. That's up to you as a judge. Now, what happens to the recording of that between the speech being given and it being posted, that's outside my sphere of knowledge.
it was just interesting. It was very interesting. Having been there and then hearing the speech that was posted was just interesting.
I got nothing.
The only thing that they say, I'm actually looking at the rule book right now, is that the only thing about objectionable language is located in the humorous speech contest rules, and it says the speaker must avoid potentially objectionable language, anecdotes, and material. But that's only in the humorous, and I think from a judging standpoint, there doesn't say that you disqualify them for that. However, what Dean says that you could give them 0 points on that language part, which I believe it's near the bottom. It doesn't really, I don't think there's that much weight to the language, but nonetheless, you could give them 0.
And the points are really, the points on the ballot are a suggestion because nobody else ever sees the top of the ballot to know how you voted. So if you personally, as you're a judge and you're a human being and you were offended by that, you could make them be last. That's within your right as a judge. No one sees the top part of the ballot. When you get down to, I think on some of those ballots, it's maybe only like 15 or 20 points out of 100, but you could say, nope, that's a deal breaker for me, and that's within your right as a judge. And I think that's why they caution the humorous speech contestants not to use offensive language.
Okay, thank you. And I have one other thought about the chief judge. You said that the chief judge does not vote.
That is true.
There have been scenarios where even with a tie-breaking judge, it's up with a tie, and then the chief judge is the person who has to break the tie. It's happened to me personally, both as a person in the speech contest, like a judging thing, and as a chief judge, I've had to break the tie.
There's no possible way that that could happen. There's no possible way, because if you have a tie, if you have a tie, let's say you've got 3 first place finishers, right? The way the votes came up, and you've got 3 first place finishers. The tie-breaking judge has to rank every speaker. So whoever in that 3-way tie was ranked higher on the tiebreaker judge's ballot would win. It's not possible to have a tie where the tie-breaking judge doesn't break the tie. I don't. It's not mathematically possible.
It is possible if a judge, or if a ballot has been disqualified because it wasn't completed correctly. There are situations.
No, it can't. It can't happen. It can't happen. If you have 5 speakers and through some weird fluke, all 5 judges vote all different weird ways so that they're all exactly tied, the tiebreaker judge has ranked those speakers from 1 to 5, and that would settle who won or not.
It's
There's
not
no way.
so many. It's not the ones with 5 speakers. It's the contest with 2 speakers. With the ones that have less amounts, and you still can mathematically get ties. And I don't even want to discuss whether it's possible or not. What happens when the chief judge has to break the tie, but they've objected to, saying, "I'm not going to."
What I'm saying to you is, no matter how many contestants you have, no matter how many judges you have, if the tiebreaker judge will break the tie. If you have the chief judge voting, then that shouldn't be. That can't happen. We can take that offline. You can show me what happened, but it's not possible. If you had 2 speakers, or if you had 100 speakers, and they all end up tied with your regular judges, then whoever's ranked higher by the tiebreaker judge would win. The tiebreaker judge, you only count the tiebreaker judge's ballot if there's a tie. Right? So let's say you've got 5 judges and a tiebreaker judge. So you add up all the votes for your 5 regular judges. And then if there's a tie, you look at the tiebreaker judge's ballot. So it's not possible that your chief judge would have to break a tie. It's not possible.
Maybe what she's saying is the chief judge was the tie-breaking judge, which that can't be. Is that correct?
Well, that could be.
That could be.
Well, that shouldn't
be.
If you're short, it shouldn't be. If you're short-staffed, if you're short-handed, sometimes that happens, that your chief judge ends up being the tie-breaking judge. In which case, then the chief judge is acting as the tiebreaker judge, and the chief judge really hasn't broken the tie. The chief judge is serving as the tiebreaker judge.
Hey, Christine, this is Dan. I have a question on timing.
Uh-huh.
If I could. So we're doing both our international speech and our humorous speech at the same night. Does it matter which one goes first?
No.
So for instance, let's say international goes first, and then we give the judges time to write down their scores. And then can we go right into the humorous then after a certain period of time? Because I've got the same judges doing both.
Oh yeah. Okay. And it doesn't matter which one you do first. Let's say you have, let's say you have 3 contestants for humorous and 10 contestants for international, and you want to make sure that the humorous contest actually has somebody to clap for them. So you do the humorous first, so that the international contestants are trapped there.
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter which one goes first.
And after the contestants are done with their speech, I think if I remember correctly, there's a certain time, I'll call it quiet time or something, for the judges to kind of write down everything they need to write before we then go forward, right?
It's a minute. It's a
Only
minute.
Oh,
it's only a minute. Yeah, and you want to make sure that you're consistent with it only being a minute, because there could be some assertion that there was bias or something if a speaker had more or less time in between the next speaker for the judges to think about it.
Okay, and is it okay to say do the international, have the judges do their judging, then do they have to then do the ballots, or can we go into the humorist and we do the ballot counting all at once for both contests at the end?
If you can keep the ballots secure, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Some people like to have them counted because then it makes the sitting around at the end shorter if you're only
Gotcha.
counting one set of ballots instead of two. Or if you're hand lettering certificates or something like that, then you only have one set instead of two, but it really doesn't matter.
And then last question, sorry. Once the judges are doing it, and I have a chief judge that's going to count them all up, then we
Yep.
look at the, at the same time, then we look at the timing, and let's say someone did go over time or go under time.
Yep.
When we go back into the room, let's say, and now we're going to announce who won, do we immediately announce this person was disqualified because of time, or we just say, here's the winner, here's the second, and
You
then
actually-
later on we tell them why they weren't first or second and what have you.
Actually, you would do something in the middle of that. You would
Okay.
you would announce that a contestant had been disqualified for time. You wouldn't say who it was. You
Okay,
would just say a contestant was disqualified for time, and then you would announce your winners. And if
Oh.
everyone in the room is shocked that the certain person didn't win, then they'll be like, oh, they must have screwed up on time.
okay. And when you say a contestant, not contestant A, you're just saying.
No, just say we had a contestant disqualified for time.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right, and then maybe the only other thing I'm going to sneak in there is for your Toastmaster of the day. Your Toastmaster of the day should introduce the speaker and then give their speech title and then give their speech title and then the speaker's name. There isn't any of that. Working on her effective coaching pathway and entered into her first speech contest is Christine Ross. There shouldn't be anything that the Toastmaster says where somebody is in their Toastmasters journey or how many contests they have entered or anything like that. It's just their name, the speech, and their name, so that there isn't any tip to the judges about, so and so is on their 10th contest, they're due. I mean, that kind of thing. Or, oh, so and so is brand new in Toastmasters. Wouldn't it be fun if they won? I mean, there shouldn't be anything that the Toastmaster says that tips to the judges where somebody is. It's just, Gene Bailey, I'm a great guy. I'm a great guy, Gene Bailey. And that's all you say.
And then I'll pay you, okay? How's that for humor?
All right, we've got a minute.
Yeah.
Is there any last question?
I have one more thing about the timing. At the
Uh-huh.
end of at the last contestant, the judges get 2 minutes to total up all the things on their
Right.
before the minute. So you were saying a minute between, that's fine, but 2 minutes at the end.
Well,
before
but you say
That's
it's 2 minutes. You say it's 2 minutes, but practically you're going to stand there until the last judge is done, right? I mean, you tell them they've got 2 minutes to mark their ballot, but what are you going to do if, someone's taking, 6 minutes to add up the numbers because they didn't bring a calculator? So we tell them 2 minutes, but, for practically it's, you wait until they're done.
Okay, that's what I meant, but yes, I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah.
Okay, now in the past, they've had a script for speech contests. Is that script that I've seen in the past still valid for this round of speech contests?
Well, there is no official script. There are a lot of scripts floating around just because Toastmasters has been doing speech contests for a very long time. So if you have a script that you're comfortable with, go ahead and use that.
Thank you.
All righty. All right,
I
I
don't-
think we're
I
out of
don't-
time.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions on chat. So if there are no other questions, we'll wrap up. One last chance. Any other questions? Okay,
I
thanks.
do have I just have a comment
Sure, go ahead.
that I think this session has been excellent, and I think that the speaker has done an excellent job. She's so knowledgeable about speech contest, and it just makes it so worthwhile to be in the session tonight.
Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Wonderful. Good to hear.
Again, we've recorded this session and we'll post this up on the District 40 Facebook page. We have a lot better success posting these to the Facebook page than we do the website at this point in time. So we will try to post it on the website, but no guarantees. We've been having some trouble with that. We're going to try to figure that out. Thank you, Christine, for your presentation tonight. And
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we'll close the call. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Take
Good
care.
night, everyone.
Sending the slides
Good
out.
night.
Yes, we'll send the slides too.
Thanks, guys.
Take care all. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.